Welcome back to Two Who's Review. I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
I'm Sam.
Today, we will be reviewing The Power of Kroll, which is the fifth story in the Key to Time story arc. This is a fucking weird episode as well.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how I feel about it. On one hand, it's very it's like formulaic, but it's also like very, very, very original. It's standout. It blends in. I just don't know what I think about this one yet. I'm very I'm wowed by what it was able to do with very little, but then I'm also I don't think it did enough. It's so bizarre. I think I need this discussion to know how I feel because this one is weird to me.
So it's worth noting that for those that remember, along with Ribos Operation, Power of Kroll is the other one that I read the novelization of as a kid. I remembered it way less.
I
remembered what Kroll looked like on the front of the book, and I remembered vaguely that it was on a swamp planet and there was some kind of scientific base thing was all I could really remember. And a couple of moments as I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, I remember the guy getting pulled in the tube, or I remember them getting stretched by vines.
Yeah.
But most of it, I was just like, it's a swamp and there's a big octopus thing there. Other than that, couldn't tell you much.
Well, I have similar problems with me remembering it because I've watched it, but it was a long time ago. So all I could remember was there was a group of tribal people who had green skin, and there was Kroll, and that was basically it. Granted, I had similar issues with Stones of Blood because I'd completely forgotten about the Strange Odyssey in the Space Court. That completely slipped my mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know if my lack of being able to remember it, whether that's an actual reflection of its memorability as a story. The one thing I am quite convinced of, though, is that the second half is more interesting than the first. The first feels a bit meandery, and there's less memorable moments.
I do remember zoning out most in part 2 specifically, because that was kind of the part where we were kind of we were having a lot of little wonders. We were catching up with the people in the methane facility a little bit. We were figuring out Kroll a little bit, but for the most part, we were just kind of getting to the point where part 3 can happen. Especially to the extent that the big cliffhanger leading into part 2 is that one of the arsehole scientists gets taken by Kroll. It's not even affecting our main characters, and I'm just kind of okay, you're a colonizer. Good for Kroll.
Yeah. the main reason it's a cliffhanger is more just oh fuck, that's a big tentacle. That's true. A really big tentacle. That's going to be a problem when characters we care about are being attacked by it.
Before that point, had we seen Kroll? I think we had, right?
Yeah, there was one other bit where one of the swamp guys was attacked by a tentacle.
But have we seen the scale of Kroll before that point?
I think we had
the green screen sky. I think we had.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had. There was a bit where he rises up from the swamp and the swampies, as they're called,
which
are they ever given an actual name?
No, I looked on the TARDIS. I'm looking at the TARDIS wiki. Their heading, their article title is Swampy. The Swampies, known to themselves as the people of the lakes.
Right, because
they're people of the lakes.
It's better than Swampies.
Can we assume that that's a slur of some kind? Because they say it like a slur.
Yeah.
We have to. They don't call each other Swampies, do they?
This is fucking. It's fucking Rudyard Kipling and War with the Zulus, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a pretty 1-to-1, frankly.
And I tell you when they were calling the colonizers dryfoots, that's like when white people get called cracker. Oh my god. Jesus.
Reverse racism is a thing. It's just as bad as real racism. I think you'll find.
But yeah, to your point earlier, Cuff, about how the first half feels very meandering. I rewatched it this afternoon, having watched it like a week ago, and like particularly the first half of the first episode, I was just like, this is just everything that happened in the first 10 minutes of Android Zatara again.
Oh yeah.
They end up on a new planet. Romana goes off on her own with the fucking detector stick to look for something.
Yeah.
She gets captured by one group. The doctor's just sort of fucking around. In Tara, it was fishing. In this, he's just making a fucking like grass whistle or whatever the
Like a
fuck
little
he's doing.
flute, yeah.
Yeah. And then he gets accosted by the other team and taken to their base. And then even like it happens a lot earlier in this than it did in Tara, but there's even like a repeat of the "Oh no, Doctor, I lost the detector stick. Oh no, I found it. Haha." It's just like that's the same joke. You did the same joke twice in a row.
I thought that felt familiar. I can't believe I
Yeah.
didn't pick up on that. Yeah, that's a little
It,
little dumb.
I will say it wasn't enough that I was like, this is detrimental to the episode, but it was enough that it made the ho hum nature of like that first episode even more apparent. When I was just like, well,
it happens so quickly. It doesn't
if,
have a massive.
If the key to time arc had to fall into a repetitive structure, I'm glad it happened only on the second to last one before our big finale.
Sure.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's my way of saying I really hope the first 10 minutes of the last story do not involve Romana going off on her own with the scanner stick, getting captured by one group, and then the Doctor being fucking around, lazing on his own, and then being captured by another group.
Because an issue that I'm running into now is nothing to do with Power of Kroll, but I am slightly worried about Armageddon Factor next week. I know it's like a 6-part story instead of a 4, but we still have to find the 6th part of the key and deal with the Black Guardian, White Guardian stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I'm wondering how they're going to do it in a. Well, I'm just wondering how they're going to do it in a satisfying way that feels like all of this was earned. That's the bit I was talking about, I think, a few weeks ago when Hadley was here. When I was like, okay, these stories might as well be disconnected stories where they just happen to land for some other reason. There's no reason yet that the key to time needs to be a part of these stories, so I hope they stick the landing with the final chapter, because otherwise I'm going to find myself wondering what the point of all of this was.
Well, because I think I made this specific comparison before, but like also generally, I've compared this arc to Del Toro Quest a lot.
Yeah.
But in the second series, in the last book, they just get the last piece of the MacGuffin right at the beginning of the book, so that the rest of the book can be the finale dealing with the big problem that they need the MacGuffin for in the beginning.
Yes.
So like Armageddon Factor, they might just find the final piece in episode 1 of 6, and then the next 5 are about using the completed key or figuring out how to put it together the right way or whatever. Like
I will then find myself asking, why didn't they not just make it 5 pieces instead of 6? But that's a much smaller issue.
Yeah. Well, like again, in the original Del Toro Quest, there were 7 gems to find, but there were 8 books. So each gem got its own dedicated book, and then the final one was, okay, we've got them all, let's go beat the bad guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then the second and third series didn't do that. They were just like, we'll find the last bit in the last book as we're dealing with the big bad guy. And like, it's been a while since I read them, but like they handled it pretty well.
Yeah, I like listening to the audiobooks pretty frequently. That's a good book series. But with how they're going to wrap up the White Guardian, Black Guardian situation, from memory, they definitely do it. I think
I would hope.
Yeah.
it is rushed a bit. From what I remember, they only deal with it, I think, sometime in the last episode, maybe even in the last.
Well, we don't want to go
Act.
too much into it now. In any case.
But actually, well, what I was going to say is, I'm hoping what'll happen is they'll use, episodes 1 to 4 as the Armageddon Factor story, and then maybe use the last 2 episodes as let's defeat the Guardian. So at least they're utilizing those extra 2 episodes. I don't think that's actually going to happen, but I'm going to pretend that it is.
Well, I just
Really
with a title like the Armageddon Factor, I assume that
Me
the
too.
Armageddon in question is the end of time that we need the key to time to stop.
Could be.
I guess it could be a separate, distinct, unique Armageddon, I guess. But that feels like it might get a little cluttered.
I think it is a separate thing, because they're on this planet and they're underground. Granted, again, it's been ages since I've seen this.
Yeah. And like I said, we don't. This is not when we're talking about New Who. Cuff and I have not seen this episode yet, so we probably shouldn't talk about it too much.
True, fair.
Yeah. Yes. Let's talk about Kroll more.
Yeah.
We kind of, we almost breezed over it, but I do find that I don't know how I feel. Where it's like the episode makes it abundantly clear that the people of the lakes, which is what I will call them, I will not call them swampies. The people of the lakes are like, for all intents and purposes, massive victims. When it's like their planet, I don't know if or their moon or whatever it is. I don't think it's specifically being like colonized entirely, but there are these invaders that have come in and are like, they're by all intents and purposes, they want them gone. They want them genocided for one reason or another.
Well,
they're very happy to have them killed. For the most part of like episodes 2 and 3, the main threats to our main characters are the people of the lakes. I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, like, I forget where exactly in the episode it's said, but I do remember the detail of like, we took these guys and put them on the moon so that they wouldn't be on the main planet that we wanted anymore. And then we found out also that there's stuff on the moon that we want. So now we're doing it all over again.
Yes.
So like, I think that is where their worship of Kroll kind of stems from.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right.
I think you're right about that.
They get transplanted there and they're like, well, we'll worship this big squid guy now, I guess.
Yeah, like, I just don't know how I feel about them being the main antagonists of a significant bulk of the story, when I would think that a normal episode structure for something like this would be the Doctor and companions helping the people of the lakes to like overthrow the people that have done horrible things to them and like get them their land back.
Yeah.
Well, that did surprise me a little bit, because the Doctor addresses it, and there's that one line where it's like, oh, well, people can have a very varied interpretation of what the word progress means, but he doesn't deal with the ethics of it too much. He's kind of really just focused on getting that bit of the key to time. I mean, and that sort of makes sense, but given everything we know about the Doctor, it was a little weird not having him be as concerned about this clearly oppressed group of people.
Yeah, I think it's that thing that we run up to in a lot of classic stories where we're like, if this episode had been written in the 21st century, it probably would have gone down a bit differently.
Yeah.
But for something written in the 70s, this is probably as good as you could expect.
Yeah, there's a couple of
moral.
Yeah, there's a couple of references to like primitives and savages and stuff like that, which isn't great. But like, I guess it could have been worse.
I mean,
well, I'll say this, right? I get your point, Sam. Yeah, like 1970s Britain, very different time. This is same decade that fucking Hounds of Wang Chang came out. I don't really need to explain why that's ethically disturbing. The one thing I will say though, in terms of how I guess ethically suspect it may look to us in the modern day, I do think earlier stories like, say, the Sea Devils dealt with similar themes a bit better. I think the
Yes.
Doctor is being a lot more confrontational in how terrible the Sea Devils are being treated, and sort of railing against that sort of imperialism, because it's very clear that there's
Yeah.
a imperialist project going on here.
Like
As
I think some of it does ultimately just stem from the narrative decision to make the people of the lakes another antagonistic force. Because
yeah,
like when you pare everything back, if you have to pick one singular villain, it's the fucking what's his name, like the main guy on the
Yeah.
on the
on
On
this
the
expedition.
on the
methane
sta-
plant.
on the methane station, who's just like going around shooting his own men, being like, "We have to wipe them out." When the others are just like, "Look, I don't really like them, but like, genocide's kind of fucked, man.
Yeah,
I'm racist, but I won't kill them all
Yeah.
indiscriminately."
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so like he's definitely the singular villain of the story, and
Yeah.
then the people of the lakes are kind of just like, well, it feels like they've been written in a way where it's just like, well, yeah, obviously they're going to be like causing problems because like they have this
Mm.
primitive cult worship of this giant fucking squid monster. But there's at least sort of an asterisk being like, but can you blame them? And I know that's not the most elegant way to work around that kind of problem, but at least
Well,
again, like I say, for the 70s, that's not the
here's the
worst
thing.
thing.
Like, I will say that I do appreciate that the story doesn't take the like. I use this example all the time with like an alien species where it's like they're all the same personality wise. They don't have any differences
Yeah.
among. Like, there's elements of that in the people of the lakes. There's some people who are like, wait a minute, Troll's not really doing this for us, is he?
Yeah.
Like, there's a discordance in there, which I think is why it's infuriating to me that the Doctor at no point tries to like explain the actual scientific origins of Kroll to try and get those people on his side instead of them just following this one guy. Like, he very easily could have done that. It's not like they all
And
were indoctrinated, but he chooses not to. Every time he decides to try and say something like "Kroll's not your god," he just chooses to insult the main guy and be like, "Oh, don't be such an idiot," blah blah blah. And it's like,
It's
I
like
feel like there is definitely a world where
yeah,
the Doctor could have
yeah,
like won them round and had it just be that one people of the lake guy who was an antagonistic force, and I wouldn't have opposed that all that much.
yeah.
Having
And I'm
this
glad
one
he's
guy
there, sort of.
entrenched in like, because then you make it not about like primitive tribalism. You make it more about religion as a
Yeah,
whole in
and
that
ego
analogy.
even.
I think that works a lot better.
because like I read most of those interactions between the Doctor and like the Chief, um, as the Doctor being like, "Come on, you know this is bullshit. You're a smart enough man to know that Kroll isn't actually doing all this shit. You're just using the sham of the religion to
Yeah.
like keep your society going in the way that you want it to."
Yes.
And like as you say, there's something interesting that could be done there, but it isn't quite.
Yeah,
Even though like we see evidence throughout, like it's just like, yeah, when Romana's being sacrificed to Kroll and it's just a guy wearing a crab costume.
I did find that
And then
funny.
when he gets called out later, he's just like, yeah, well, if we're doing what Kroll wants, then actually technically Kroll is doing it because he's doing it through us.
The body of
Checkmate.
Christ analogy.
yeah.
Yeah,
The ever
exactly.
expanding tautology of the situation. But look, here's the thing. Um, I'm glad that main uh person of the swamp antagonist does exist.
Yes, I
Because at
agree.
least there's some variety there. And it just makes it a bit more interesting. In terms of your point, Sam, about him sort of orchestrating a sham. Like, he doesn't really believe what he's doing. I don't think that interpretation is completely sound, at least not by the end of the story, because there could have been a moment where it's revealed that it is a big sham to this guy, and he's just trying to manipulate it. But he seems so convinced that he's so
Well, he
dogmatic
convinces
in.
he convinces himself when like he's so dug in by that point. He does the sham praying thing, but then when something actually happens, I think he kind of like he falls for his own bullshit. I think that's what happens at the end, and I think that's why he has that turn when he then starts truly worshipping Kroll by himself. Because I think by that point he's so entrenched in what he's trying to project that he kind of falls for it himself. I don't think
Yeah, I
it's
guess
that
so.
I don't think he believes it all the way through. I think he's saying what he needs to say to remain like the leader of the people of the lakes and like stay on top and keep the society the way he wants it.
Which is probably why he says, "Oh yeah, one of our people died because you defied Kroll's will and didn't kill these interlopers."
Yeah.
So like
Sure.
I just today finished the audiobook for one of the Halo novels, Contact Harvest, because
Yeah.
I've been playing the Halo games with Jared and Stormy and started like re-listening to the novels.
Yeah.
And there's a whole subplot in that one because it's about the start of the war between humans and the Covenant, the aliens.
Yeah.
And there's a subplot where the Covenant have devices to scan for technology made by their gods, who are this ancient alien race called the Forerunners. They made the Halos, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. And they arrive at this human planet, and it registers as having thousands and thousands of Forerunner relics there. So these religious officials and look into it and find that humans are registering as religious objects because humans were chosen by the Forerunners to inherit all their technology after the Halos were fired the first time. And they're like, well, if that's true, our entire 1,000-year-old religion and alliance of alien races is built on a fucking lie. So we need to wipe out all humans in the galaxy before anyone ever finds out about this. And if that means we also get to use this as a way to install ourselves as the three prime hierarchs of the entire Covenant, so much the better.
Sure.
So
By the
just
way,
like
Sam.
little stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Also, Sam, this is a tiny little thing. When you said Forerunners the first time, maybe just because I haven't got great hearing, I thought you said foreigners, and I'm like, that's a different name for that sort of a group of people in a bit of fiction.
You don't get more foreign than an alien species, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah,
Should have called the Swampies Foreigners instead. That would have been better.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been suggestive at all. Oh, by the way, other tiny little detail. When they're holding the detector for the key to time, are they holding it the wrong way? Because I swear to God, there's moments where they're holding it by the detector part, not the handle, like there have been. Help me out here. Am I remembering that wrong?
I don't know.
I haven't noticed enough about the specifics of its design to know one way or the other. It just looks like a stick most of the time.
Fair enough.
I like that. I like that they don't even try and justify K9 at all in this story.
Yeah.
Like they just say, he's gonna stay.
We're on a fucking swamp.
Future-
What's he gonna do? He's just staying as TARDIS.
I mean, you say that, but future Doctor Who stories will have K9 happily careen into the ocean.
Well,
And
yes.
explode.
He clearly didn't learn that lesson or unlearned it. But the funny thing is, or like the interesting behind the scenes thing, I guess John Leeson, K9's voice actor, must have been contracted into this entire season because he plays Dugeen, which is the guy who's part of the Sons of Earth who gets killed by
Right.
Oh, like
Huh.
the younger
The
one.
young guy, yeah, who's like always
Yeah.
like reading the thing. I was like, he's K9's voice actor.
Oh, that's
Right.
interesting.
Okay.
Cool. Maybe I don't know if this was actually ever confirmed, but maybe the guy who wrote this, it was oh, forgetting
It's
his
a
name
great
now.
Robert Holmes.
Rob Holmes. Did he ever say that he just didn't like K9 as a character, so maybe he just didn't bother to put him in the story?
I don't know about that. I don't remember if Robert Holmes ever said anything about K9.
Or maybe I'm confusing it with the Leisure Hive. I think the
It might
person
be
who wrote
I think
that
Ledger High might be what
Yeah.
you're thinking of, yeah.
said, "Oh yeah, I
Because
don't
like,
like K9, so I'm just going to blow him up."
because you're like, yeah, like if you've got a character like K9 who, as a result of their design, is limited in where they can realistically move around, then it does feel needlessly restrictive to be like, well, every episode has to have this character. So we always have to go to a place with level enough floors that K9 can get around.
Yeah, it's true.
You know,
And also
it'd be like going to The Simpsons and being like, Santa's little helper has to be in every episode. And it's just like,
I've just
fucking, does he though?
I've
Does
just
he
learned
really?
that there was no such contract for John Leeson to appear in every episode of the season. I think it looks like the actual actor for Doug had to drop out at the last minute, so John
Right.
Leeson just jumped
So
in.
he was just on hand at the
okay,
time.
He was just
yeah,
on hand, yeah.
right. And it worked because again, Swamp Planet, K9 would probably sink like a rock, which would look kind of funny
Mhm.
in its own way. But how would you
Yeah.
fit that in? Um,
I also clocked that the sacrificial altar or whatever it is at least in part one is called the Stone of Blood. And
oh
I was
yeah,
like, where have I heard
no, I
that
heard that. That
before?
was funny. Yeah, that was kind of funny. Um, so I think, as I said, the episodes 3 and 4 are more interesting than the
Yes.
first two.
Yeah.
It felt pretty action packed. I really liked when they were trapped on the slow vine death machine on the vine rack, I guess you would
Mm.
say. That I actually thought was kind of clever.
Yeah.
Both in its sort of
Yeah.
ingenuity because I've
Like it
like
was
with
particularly the like hitting the high note to
I know,
smash the
yeah.
glass
oh yeah,
and
no, that
let
was
the
cool
rain in.
because
It was
I
like it wasn't until that scene started that I was like, oh yeah, I do remember this. And like once that trigger happened, I was like, oh yeah, this is like one of the only parts that I do actually kind of remember.
well I gotten distracted when I was watching that bit, so I look back at the screen and it's like, oh, the window's open and it's raining. What the fuck happened there? And then I vaguely remembered, oh, I heard this really weird, annoying sound for a few seconds. So I
Yeah.
then rewound. And it's like, oh, the doctor's doing high pitched singing with weird timey wimey Time Lord magic. Okay, no, that makes sense. But all those elements made it quite a compelling, intense scene. And it was innovative in the sense that, like, because we all know what a rack is, basically. Like, we've seen,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, it's existed in human history and whatnot. But having the vines as the way that it gets stretched is such an interesting way of doing it, and also a very minimalist way of doing it, which uh, fits because Doc 2 budget. How what else are they going to do? Um, but anyway, when you put all that together, that scene I thought was probably one of the stronger scenes in the story, and certainly, yeah, I'd say almost certainly the strongest scene in the story up to that point.
I think that Thorn as a character, I mean, he plays his part well enough as the uh fucking hell, what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's like it has to be there. I hate that I keep brain farting on words every now and then. What? Obligatory. That's it. The obligatory. You know, asshole human character that just wants money or power or whatever it is. It ends up being also racism as well. But he's mostly motivated by the methane throughout a lot of it, where he's like, we gotta keep going, we gotta get that methane. And I just found myself going, okay, why this is that they don't mention a methane shortage at any point throughout this story. If you go to any gas giant in this solar system, probably the universe, there's going to be an abundance of methane. This doesn't feel like it's worth it. Just fucking leave, mate. I don't know. Like
And
I just found him I found him kind of cookie cutter by the end, and I think that
Yeah,
was an
I
issue I
mean,
had with the back half of the story, where it's kind of like, I don't. There's nothing really unique about this guy. He's just this character that is always in Classic Who, especially.
I mean, it is a character that shows up a lot, but I kind of had the reverse where I was just like,
Oh
I
yeah.
found him more interesting by the end because, like, at a certain point, all of his justifications for why he's doing this ultimately just sort of went away, and he was just like, no, I just fucking kill them all. I'm just like, yeah,
Fair enough.
like, like scratch a capitalist and a racist bleeds type of thing,
Yeah, I
And
guess
it's
so.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
like it's at least something to just be like, at a certain point, he's just racist.
Yeah.
which is
And then the other guy who was like the first one to, you know, like look like he was leaning that way is the one that's like, I'm not racist, but I'm at least more principled than you, and like you're a murderer. We're not gonna start a war for no fucking reason. You're under arrest. Fuck you.
yeah.
I'm the
I
last
think.
one left, so I have to be the good guy by default.
Well, I was glad that he's in the story generally because I having that horrible racist capitalist influence does certainly make the story more compelling, especially given the kind of lackluster way that the people of the swamp are portrayed as. Um, that being said, I see what you mean, Alex. Yeah, like he is a bit quite cliche, even within the context of Doctor Who. There are probably dozens of characters like him that show up. I think it's kind of good in a way that even Classic Who has this sort of anti-imperialist bent to it, or at least it does frequently. So I'm glad that he exists even for that reason. But yes, he is very fairly one note. It's like, oh, evil capitalist dude, and he's a
Well,
racist. Whoa.
I think I kind of agree with Sam ultimately, because I forgot it's kind of glossed over to some degree, but I forgot how far he goes. Like even before he starts to unravel, it's like he hires Rom Dutt to supply guns to the Swampies, people of the lakes. I'm so sorry. Under the guise of it being as part of the Sons of Earth thing, so that he can justify like a retaliative attack to kill them all. I was like, okay, that's an interesting idea. And the Sons of
Yeah, that's
Earth in
true.
general are a pretty interesting concept that really don't get much focus at all in this story, and it's kind of a shame. I kind of want to see more from them. This organization or charity or whatever it is of people, like in the height of Earth colonizing other planets, being steadfast in like, guys, we are doing so much damage out there. Let's just go back home. We don't need to be doing all this. And whether or not that's like they're misguided because Earth is like stripped bare and uninhabitable now, or if it's like no, they're actually on the money, but also the Earth population or the human population is so vast now that not everyone can fit on Earth anymore. However you want to like, I think there's an interesting story to tell with that group.
It'd be interesting to see if they ever come up in something else.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, they're only really in this Power of Kroll. I can see there's like two. I'm looking at the TARDIS wiki. There's like two stories in prose that they're at least referenced in. Okay, what's happened? One of them just says they were active between the 34th century and the 51st, which gives me a lot. The other one is an interesting It's an interesting sentence. It was believed that the constellations were studied by Castorpus from Earth's perspective due to pressures from the suns of Earth. No idea what that means, but they mentioned Castorpus, and that's the constellation that Gallifrey's star is in. So, wait, Castorpus is an astrologer?
Maybe it's named after him.
Yeah, I'd believe that.
Let me click his link. That's a bait and switch. Castorpus is a human astrologer. Okay, this is interesting. So he's only in this one story. This guy. He was the first to study the constellations from Earth's perspective. He was an astrologer in the 4th millennium, and he was remapping the constellations to the arrangement of the stars from other human colonies. In an all too rare sense of humor, the inhabitants of Gallifrey named one of their constellations after him.
Right.
So the Gallifreyans and the Time Lords just found a human astrologer and went, all right, we'll name this after you.
Sounds like something the Doctor would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he's literally only in this one story called Introduction and Links, which is a short story as well. So it's like apparently there are chapters for each of the star signs. I don't know.
I thought of something kind of funny when watching this story, and it's a little dumb little detail. Now, they say they're collecting methane.
Yeah.
And I think at some point they say that Kroll is sort of producing the methane.
Yes.
Are they harvesting Kroll's farts?
I mean, God, they gotta be.
Right. Okay, cool. Glad we cleared that up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be some other kind of like body leakage thing. It's not a fart, but my best guess is that they're doing the Kroll what could be done to cows theoretically. It's humorous at the very least.
That's how you
is there
solve
anything
global
else?
warming.
Yeah. Is there much else to say about? I mean, Kroll itself looks interesting, and when I first saw it, I was like, "Whoa!
Yeah.
That's a design. That's wild. That does not look like a squid anymore. That looks like Audrey 2."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the design of Kroll. And even the practical effects, the way it's used in the story, given how fake it could have looked, I think it's actually used pretty well. I think
it's impressive. I like the miniature shot when it's attacking the methane plant. I think that's
yeah.
I quite like how that ends up, because I think it's helpful that we get quite a lot of shots of like the pure scale of Kroll throughout the episode, so that when the mini comes along, it makes the mini of the methane plant feel a bit more real than just like sticks and like little platforms and stuff. I don't know. I think it sold the illusion a little bit better for me.
I agree.
Nice.
For sure. That at the very least could have looked a lot fucking worse, given it's classic Who. But I thought it worked well enough, and I liked it, like even the pacing of how Kroll was sort of introduced and how we saw him was done pretty well. So yeah. Beyond that, I don't really have much else to say about this story.
Anything?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, that's really disappointing, because I don't have anything to say either, and I still kind of don't know how I feel about this episode.
Yeah, I think it's not bad, but this is probably now the weakest of the Key to Time.
Yeah.
Just because there are so many ambivalent feelings about it.
I think we definitely had more fun with Androids of Tara. That was
yeah.
I think I don't think any of us are going to be. I think the Pirate Planet is still the most entertaining of this saga so far. I don't think that's an opinion that's going to be unpopular in this call.
Although Stones of Blood, I think for me came pretty close after Pirate Planet, because even if it is very uneven, I just enjoyed so much of that story.
Saying you're going to make a case for Ribos Operation, and that's fine.
I'm not going to make a case for it. I'm going to say, like, for obvious personal bias reasons, it's still probably my favorite. But
fair enough.
That being said, I think I also agree with Fitz. I think I like Stones of Blood more than Pirate Planet overall.
Yeah, fair enough.
Partly because it's so weird and off kilter half the time.
It is strange.
I mean, at the very least, there's an unfortunate trend happening where the key to time it's getting slightly worse with every story.
Yeah, I would say they're all still good,
Mm-hmm.
but this one in particular is more like this feels less like part of a big overarching story, even though they've all felt like kind of self-contained, and the key to time stuff is just added on. This feels the most like this could just be a generic classic story, and not would be that much better or different.
I think for me, I actually like Pirate Planet a little bit more than Stones of Blood, but they're very close. For me, maybe it's because I couldn't remember.
Okay,
a lot
just
of what
throw
was
me
in
under the
Stones.
fucking bus then, Fitz. I guess.
Hey, I wasn't throwing you under the bus. I was just. I want to say
if you can't say what you were just doing, you were throwing her under a bus. That's
no.
If you can't immediately say what you were actually doing, then I think there was a bus involved. I think.
No. Okay. Look, I was gonna say I was just correcting you, but that sounds so much worse.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
That's so much worse.
Sorry
about that.
Kroll, though. What score do I fucking give this episode? I don't even know. I'm trying to decide between a 6 and a 5 right now. I would love some some input from you guys. Not that you're going to sway my decision that much, but where are you landing?
I'm feeling 7-ish.
7, okay.
Yeah. So like I said, there's nothing like wrong with it necessarily.
Sure.
It's just probably the least interesting of the key to time that we've seen so far.
Sure. And yeah, 5 for me.
Yeah. Goddamn. I guess I'll give it a 6. I think ultimately it's imperfect, but there's elements here that I can latch onto, and I think I could watch it again and be fine. Like, Kroll itself is fun to look at. There's interesting elements every now and then.
I think for me, because I was tempted to give it a 6 as well, but when I think of 6, I always just keep going back to the Leisure Hive, right? Because that had problems, but the good bits that I enjoyed, I really, really enjoyed in the Leisure Hive. Here, it's more, there's good bits, but they're okay. And my immediate reaction to it is I would definitely prefer the Leisure Hive to this.
Yeah, you know what? That's convinced me. I think you're right. I think I landed on a 6 because I think it's a cop out because there was a 5 and a 7. So I was like, okay, I get to do the uninteresting thing and just write down a 6 and be done with it. But I think you're right. I think when I look at other 6s I've put in the past, I do think Kroll isn't quite on that level.
Sure.
And looking at the 5s, yeah, that's about right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, next time on the podcast, we will be reviewing the Series 4 finale, Journey's End.
Oh boy.
That's going to be a long one, because it's a long episode. But until then, I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
I'm Sam.
And look out, Kroll's right behind you. He's going to eat you.
Grr.
I'm serious. Like, I don't know what yeah. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Fucking hell. Why? We've been doing this for 5 years. Why can't we just have a fucking good outro?
Because it's our trademark.
Yeah.
Well, we can
At this
trademark
point, if
ourselves
you
as being
started having a
entertaining.
good, consistent outro, that would be more boring.
Yes, it would.
You just
More
have
boring
to
than
like, you
me.
just have
More,
to
more boring
embarrass
than me,
yourself.
kind of
You
fumbling
have to
around
just
and
have your balls out on stream
Absolutely.
at the end of every episode of this fucking podcast. That is the brand you have cultivated.
I
Accept
mean,
it.
in all honesty, that's not just this pod. That's the brand I've cultivated for far longer than this podcast has been alive for.
And I've been too lazy to come up with anything, so I just go along for the ride.
Thank you, Fitz.